Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things ready through a common sense lens. And you know, it's one of our favorite things, right? Competition breeds excellence, right? So I want rival studios calling each other out, right? I want studio heads kind of bashing on each other and calling each other out and telling you, hey, those were giant mistakes. You shouldn't have done that. That's not the way we're going to do things over here. We're going to be better about that. We're not going to do that kind of nonsense. And obviously, it's one of them situations where we've heard a lot of complaints come about that, especially when it comes to Disney Marvel, right? Going all the way back as far as Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, right? We heard our dear sweet actress, our Scarlet Witch, talk about how the fact that like literally she stopped reading the dailies because by the time she got to set the next day, it literally would have all changed, right? We heard about that with Captain America, Brave New World, that they started filming that kind of stuff with unfinished scripts. We've heard about this stuff over and over and over again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one place that it seems like that will not be happening in any way, shape, or form is the new DC Studios with head James Gunn and Peter Safran. And James Gunn has no problem whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen, letting you know exactly what he thinks. The problem is not only with his former home studio of Marvel, but also Hollywood and in its entirety. And ladies and gentlemen, although this might not be the giant elephant in the room that all of us would obviously call out, this is absolutely a serious problem of not having any kind of vision when you actually start out a project. This also would explain the massively amount of insane budgets because you're literally writing and creating on the fly without any solid vision. And ladies and gentlemen, hearing another creative and another studio head out there bash studios for doing this exact same kind of thing is a beautiful thing to see, because as you can see over here from Variety.com, James Gunn says the movie industry is dying because the films are made without finished scripts and Marvel got killed by output increase. That wasn't fair. And ladies and gentlemen, he's not wrong. Of course, he's not going to bring up all of the diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense and the really poor storytelling that has caused the infection of a lot of that kind of stuff. Of course, obviously, the hiring of a bunch of diversity, inclusion, and equity hires out there that don't have talent has obviously been a major problem as well. And it's simply the kind of thing that we have seen happen in this industry. These people don't have a vision. They don't know what they want to do with a project. They're literally just trying to use it as a skin suit to push their own agenda. And we have seen it fail and flop so miserably. So boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to check this article from Variety.com, getting all the juicy details of exactly what James Gunn has said, as well as all of his updates on how things are currently working inside of the DC and his vision going forward with that. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, and we are sailing our way towards 2,100. I think we're at like 2026 or something like that, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Do you think James Gunn's right? And this is the major problem, especially within Marvel and, of course, Hollywood overall as agenda, that they don't actually finish the things, that they don't actually have real visions, and they're literally making it up as they go along. Or do you think he's completely and totally wrong, and Marvel has always done this in the past and it has worked out well for them? It's just it's just all of the diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense. Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well and think about becoming a member. All right, from Variety.com and our dear sweet Zach Scherf. James Gunn has stressed from the minute he took over DC Studios that no superhero movie under his watch would go into production without a completed script. Now, in a new interview with Rolling Stone, the filmmaker attributed the so-called dying film industry to Hollywood's fatal mistake of always making blockbusters before their scripts are officially completed. And he's absolutely right. I mean, this has seen what happened. We've seen the overinflated budgets from Disney Marvel, right? $300 million, $250 million. And when we find out the actual reports and the actual tax returns, when we get that stuff from England, it ends up being like $300, $400, $500 million for a lot of this stuff. So yeah, that's a problem. All of that's going to do is increase your production costs if you're literally making something up on the fly, which has been the Disney Marvel way for quite a while at this point. I do believe that the reason why the movie industry is dying is not because of people not wanting to see movies. I absolutely, completely, and totally agree. I still love going to the theaters if it's something that's actually going to make it worth my money to go and spend all that money that it costs at the theaters to go see something. It's not because of home screens getting so good. I've always disagreed with that. I've always agreed with that as well. I don't think that's the case. Home studios have been a thing for a very long time. And yes, they are getting cheaper than ever before. But if you want to go see if you've got a really good movie out there, people are going to want to go see it on opening weekend. They're going to want to go see it at the theater. The number one reason is because people are making movies without a finished screenplay. And I think he's right. He's absolutely spot on. Gunn noted that DC Studios recently killed a project because the script just couldn't get to the right place. Everybody, and this is apparently the Sergeant movie, the Sergeant movie, the Sergeant. I can't remember his name now. Anyway, it was supposed to be an army movie. Everybody wanted to make the movie. It was greenlit, ready to go. The screenplay wasn't ready. And I couldn't do a movie without the screenplay not good. And we've been really lucky so far because Supergirl's script was so effing good off the bat. And the Lanterns came in, and that script was so effing good. Clayface, same thing. So effing good. And we know Flanagan's draft must have been pretty good if all they had to do was a few little tweaks. I mean, literally, we've already got the announcement for the new actor who's going to be in the Clayface movie. So that one is obviously greenlit and ready to go. So he says so effing good. So we have these scripts that have been really lucky with, or wise in our choices, or whatever the combination is. And I love that too. He's willing to go, hey, maybe we hired really good people. Maybe we've just been really lucky. It's not like he's going out there and go, it's because of me. It's because of James Gunn. I'm responsible for all of this being so good. He's like, nah, we might have just got lucky and we picked some really good people. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I like that their ego's not on display. Unlike Kevin Feige, who claims responsibility for absolutely everything good that comes out of DC. And don't get me wrong, James Gunn's definitely got his ego issues. I mean, did you see Creature Commandos opening trailer? Another thing Gunn said that would be working in his favor is that there's no corporate mandate from Warner Brothers to churn out a certain number of films and television projects at DC Studios. Obviously, we knew this is something that happened. This is something that came on high from Kevin Feige and Bob Iger when they launched Disney Plus, right? They wanted a bunch of content for that series. And well, we saw how all of that worked out. I mean, the end of WandaVision was an absolute abomination. Secret Wars and everything else that's been, or Secret Invasion and everything else that's come out of them since has just literally continued to decline over and over again. And trust me, nothing's going to change with Ironheart in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the storytelling has just been roll your eye level bad of identity politics and wham power and all that other kind of nonsense. And of course, completely and totally wrong interpretations of everybody's beloved characters out there. So needless to say, it's not going very well for them in any way, shape, or form, boys and girls. Gunn is an alum of Marvel Studios, obviously, having directed 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies and a Christmas special. And he noted that Disney's mandate to increase Marvel's output amid the launch on Disney Plus had a negative impact on the larger universe. Disney CEO Bob Iger has openly admitted to making this mistake. Like I said, we know this is all true. That wasn't fair. It wasn't right, and it killed them, Gunn said of Marvel. We don't have that mandate at DC to have a certain amount of movies and TV shows every year. So we're going to put out everything that we think is of the highest quality. We're obviously going to do some good things and some not good things. Creature Commandos, anyone? Oh my God, that show was abomination. And it wasn't even the identity politics. That was the smallest part of everything that was wrong with it. The editing was bad. The soundtrack was great. The animation looked cool, but the choppiness of the story, the way they edited it together, the ridiculousness of some of the characters, some of the decisions they made, it was really bad. It was really not good at all in any way, shape, or form. But hopefully, on average, everything will be as high quality as possible. Nothing goes before there's a screenplay that I am personally happy with. And I'm okay with that. We've seen what's happened with them not doing that kind of stuff. We've seen the disastrous dumpster fire of everything over there with Kevin Feige and Marvel. With Gunn Superman arriving in theaters next month, his DC universe is about to launch. Only one other movie in the new franchise has completed filming, 2026 Supergirl. But the plan is to build out the universe on the big screen with movies about Batman, The Brave and the Bold, and Wonder Woman. I didn't heard that Supergirl had finished wrapping. That's good to hear. Hopefully we'll get some trailers here in the not too near future of all that to give us an idea of what we're going to get from our Supergirl. And they've recently changed the name and dropped the Woman of Tomorrow thing, which if anybody actually knows the story of Wonder Woman of Tomorrow, it's probably a good thing. After all, the majority of the fans can agree Tom King is a CIA hack. Batman's my biggest issue in all of DC right now, personally. And I'm not writing Batman, thank the Lord for that, but I'm working with the writers of Batman and trying to get it right because he's incredibly important to DC, as is Wonder Woman. So outside of that stuff, I'm doing in the projects that are actively going on. Our 2 priorities are finishing Wonder Woman and our Batman scripts. So we literally know those are going to be the next 2 projects, big projects that come down the pipeline. I mean, you're literally setting up your trinity with this one. You've got Wonder Woman and you've got Batman coming down the pipeline. So, I mean, honestly, I hope they end up being really good. I'm a DC fanboy. I want this stuff to be good. I want good DC stories. And trust me, the world needs an inspirational Superman right now. There is no doubt about that. Batman has to have a reason for existing, right? So Batman can't just be, oh, we're making a Batman movie because Batman's the biggest character in all of Warner Brothers, which he is. But because there's a need for him in the DCU and a need that he's not exactly the same as Matt Reeves' Batman. But yet he's not a campy Batman. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in any funny, campy Batman. Really. I'm honestly totally okay with that. Don't get me wrong. The stuff from back in the day was absolutely fun. It was classic. It was of its time. Adam West was an incredible Batman, but it was full of camp. I prefer Batman to be our Dark Knight, boys and girls. I think, so really we're dealing with that. I think in a way, by the way, I think I really know what that is, but I'm dealing with the writer to make sure that we can make it a reality. He wants to make sure it's done right. He's not just going to greenlit something for the sake of greenlighting because they think they can make a quick buck on it like what we've seen Marvel do over and over and over again. After all, how well is that going to work out for Fantastic Four? Gunn said developing a Wonder Woman movie is actually easier for me because there haven't been so many infinite portrayals of Wonder Woman. Definitely not in movies, but really anywhere. There have been of Batman. Every single Batman story has been told. It seems like half the comics that have come out of DC over the past 30 years have Batman in them. Well, he's one of the few things that actually still sells with the current state of DC Comics. He's the most famous superhero in the world and the most popular superhero in the world. And people love him because he's interesting. But also having so much of him out there can also make him boring. So how do you create a property that's fun to watch? So there we go, boys and girls. James Gunn flat out calls out Marvel for doing a bunch of dumb stuff, making a bunch of bad decisions, trying to produce a bunch of content without finished scripts and trying to produce massive amounts of spending and content just for Disney Plus for no reason. Obviously, boys and girls, we know that the majority of the Hollywood guys out there are never going to admit what the giant elephant in the room is. Of course, that PC, political correctness, and identity politics has just devastated and destroyed a lot of the storytelling. It's the exact same thing. They hire a bunch of unqualified people based on diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense, and they give us extremely bad, unwritten, unfinished stories that end up falling flat with audiences everywhere out there. Fans have rejected Disney Marvel. They don't trust them anymore, and unless they know something's going to be an absolute hit like Deadpool and Wolverine, they're simply not going to show up to the theaters on opening weekend. Fantastic Four is going to be another one of them situations where James Gunn will be absolutely right. We know that they were changing things right up to the very last minute of Fantastic Four, just like they did with Captain America: Brave New World. And James Gunn's right. This is going to turn into a disastrous dumpster burn. And I, for one, am glad to hear that he is at least learning from the mistakes of Marvel and not making those same mistakes. As to whether or not he's actually going to be able to give us good DC stories that are representations of the characters that we all know and love for sure, I have no idea. But Superman is coming very soon, boys and girls, and that will give us our first idea of what the future of DC is actually going to be. But at least, if nothing else, James Gunn's bashing Marvel and realizes the mistakes that they made, he will certainly not be doing. So I guess, at least, if nothing else, that gives you some cautious optimism for the future of DC, that at least we're going to get finished scripts and proper visions, because we've seen how well that's worked out with Marvel, because the fans have decided audiences' opinions are actually what matters. And guess what? Disney, Marvel, even one of your former employees, James Gunn himself, is absolutely bashing you for the massive mistakes you've made. And hey, line up, James Gunn, because there's plenty of fans right in front of you that have been saying this for quite a while. But hey, at least it's nice to hear a little common sense come out of Hollywood, even if it is from James Gunn, because at the end of the day, you guys will get exactly what you deserve.